I didn't want to laugh while I was reading that out. I couldn't help it. This is just too funny. You've probably seen by now a news bite or two about Prince Harry and Meghan Markle's new website launched yesterday, Sussex.com. And the write-ups and the coverage are not altogether that favourable. Even the story written by the BBC is a little tongue-in-cheek, even for the BBC. But I'll come back to that in a moment, because there's a couple of glaring issues with this website, and it seems that an insider royal correspondent for GB News would agree with me, because at least this was my first impression. That impression being that the website and their titles are being used, at least in part, to promote business, which is sort of against the rules for the use of royal titles, but I'll elaborate throughout this video. First of all, if you're new to me, I'm Daniel Smith, a barrister of England and Wales. If I could ask you for a quick favour and hit that subscribe button, because about 60% of you don't do so, and I'd be really grateful if you did. So let's take a look at this website. Now, I'm not going to put it on screen because I don't want any unnecessary and laborious copyright disputes, but I'm going to talk about it nonetheless. The first glaring thing about this website is that it makes next to no reference at all to the royal family, save for a reference that Meghan married into the royal family by marrying Prince Harry. There is, that I can see, no other real mention at all. Save, of course, for their children, Prince Archie and Princess Lilibet. Now that, in and of itself, is at least a little bit strange, if not a bit of a jab at the rest of the royal family. However, where they do make use of their titles is also somewhat questionable, in my humble view, because they do promote themselves and this website as the office of Prince Harry and Meghan, the Duke and Duchess of Sussex. But there is an inherent problem with that, which I'll come back to in a moment. Let's go to what the BBC said about it, because that, as I say, was a little bit tongue-in-cheek, even for the BBC. The BBC article said that it's under the rather grandiose title of the office of Prince Harry and Meghan, the Duke and Duchess of Sussex, with a regal-looking coat of arms, which is one of the things that I'll come back to in a moment. Their Archwell brand covering their charity and media business is now folded inside. You can imagine the brand gurus fighting over the flip charts of fonts, photos and wording. So what are Harry and Meghan trying to tell us? Number one, feel-good message. The website, the BBC says, opens up with a dark blue page, a colour that brand marketeers like to associate with trust and quality, not to mention royalty. Then a picture of the couple emerges, smiling and applauding. It's a feel-good message of positivity and togetherness. It looks like the picture came from the closing ceremony of the Invictus Games, etc. Number two, the office of. The BBC article says there's an ex-presidential vibe about the new site, with its office of coat of arms, worthy ambitions and the biographies looking back on former triumphs and awards. It's meant to say classy and simple. It might also work for some upmarket aspirational chocolates. You can imagine a voiceover purring about a Sussex not just being for Christmas. That was the third take, by the way, because I didn't want to laugh while I was reading that out. And it goes on. And why Sussex.com? I suppose H&M was already taken. I couldn't help it. This is just too funny. And credit to the BBC for actually publishing this article. Number three, royal links, or lack of them. There is no mention of any of the royals in their biographies. There's been some synthetic outrage about trading on royal connections, but the links to the rest of the royal clan are conspicuous here by their absence. Prince Harry's profile mentions his military career, his charities, and his memoir Spare, but nothing about being fifth in line to the throne. This is Harry without a tie, or for that matter, royal ties. But pushing back that Archwell brand makes sense if they're going to be speaking publicly and personally on issues. Archwell was a difficult concept as a vehicle. Was it a charity or a media business? This is now about them as individuals rather than their corporate structure. Or, as they modestly put it, shaping the future through business and philanthropy, which is, again, something I'll come back to in a moment. Number 4, the BBC goes on, Meghan as a feminist. Meghan has decided to focus strongly on her work supporting women, with her biography introducing herself as a feminist and a champion of human rights and gender equity. Her lifelong advocacy for women and girls remains a constant thread in her humanitarian and business ventures, it reads. It is a clear piece of positioning and signals the type of projects that could be on the way. It is a CV that doesn't really mention her time in the royal family, beyond marrying into it in 2018. Instead, it highlights her acting career and campaigning on social issues. It mentions Grenfell but not Buckingham Palace. 5th and finally, the BBC writes, don't forget the titles. They might not be working royals, even if they sometimes seem to be a parallel royal court. But there is one place where they'll clearly assert their family connections. Both Harry and Meghan's biographies use their children's titles, describing them as Prince Archie and Princess Lilibet. Dress code casual, but don't forget the titles. So what is the issue that I've been alluding to through this video? Well, it's references to business. Because if we look at the opening to this website, which the BBC's picked up on if you didn't spot it, it says, shaping the future through business and philanthropy. Now, philanthropy and assisting and heading charities is one thing that members of the royal family are very well known for, and by way of example is one of the accepted uses for the royal coat of arms and the royal titles. However, that's pretty much as far as it goes, because the Lord Chamberlain's office publishes detailed guidance on the use of royal arms, titles and images, and prohibits them using them for trade or business without permission. Now, I'm not saying they don't have permission to use the titles in this website to promote business, but I suspect that they don't. And it would seem from the insider that's spoken to GB News that there might well be some trouble and that the royal family might be forced to act on the launch of this new website, which is quite obviously promoting business with the use of titles, at least tangentially. There might well be a problem here. Because, coming back to the Lord Chamberlain's guidance here, there is a downloadable copy which references the Trademarks Act, which I'll come back to in a moment, as I say, prohibits the use of such titles and the royal coat of arms for the use for business. Companies can apply for a royal warrant which allows them to display the royal arms, and you'll have seen these, for example, by royal appointment. This is where permission has been obtained to use it, because it's been in business for so long and has shown certain loyalty. But reading from the guidance from the Lord Chamberlain's office, under royal arms and similar emblems, says, the use of royal arms and of royal devices, emblems and titles, or of arms, devices, etc., which are so similar as to be calculated to deceive in connection with any trade or business, or to suggest that the person is employed by or supplies goods to a member of the royal family, is prohibited by the Trademarks Act 1994, unless the permission of the member of the royal family concerned has been obtained. So it's very clear that the Lord Chamberlain's guidance is that the royal crest and titles, etc., should not be used to promote business. And that indeed is the angle that a lot of news is now taking, that being that the website is now going to be used commercially. Royal expert and historian Dr. Tessa Dunlop, speaking to The Mirror, said that this proves that Harry and Meghan aren't fully ready to leave the royal life behind, saying that the website, minimalist, compassionate, expensive, regal, can a website really be all of these things? Harry and Meghan's latest venture, from the domain name sussex.com, certainly strives to pack a multi-formed punch. She says, about as majestic as you can get without actually calling yourself a royal. And then, as many of the other news companies have also picked up on, reminding us that Harry and Meghan were forbidden for using the other website, sussexroyal.com, when it was agreed that it shouldn't have the word royal in there because they were no longer working royals. Which brings us back to the point, really, of this video, in that I can see that there are probably going to be issues with the use of the titles in promoting this website. But even as I've been reading about this to produce this video, another article in The Standard, published just moments ago, said that Harry and Meghan hit back as they faced criticism after the launch of the new website. It says a source close to Harry and Meghan, which, as some people tell me is usually Harry or Meghan, say that Prince Harry and Meghan are the Duke and Duchess of Sussex. That is a fact. It is their surname and family name. But quite frankly, I don't think that's going to be enough. Just to say that, well, this is my name and family name If they go on to say that they want to use it to promote business, I personally think that's going to be in conflict with the rules and the traditions of the royal family in that they don't use those titles to promote business. So I can see that this is likely to have repercussions. And if they really come to blows, it might even lead to them losing the titles altogether. But it does also explain why there is a distinct lack of mention of the royal family throughout the website. Perhaps that was a step to deliberately distance themselves from the royal family so as not to be seen to be promoting business with the use of the titles, but that is entirely negated, in my view, by the title of the website being the Office of Prince Harry and Meghan, the Duke and Duchess of Sussex. And so the very first opening line of the description of the website is shaping the future through business and philanthropy. So I can personally see that there might well be problems to come here. So we'll see what the reaction is from the royal family. We'll see whether there's any official statement. So far, the royal family has kept its dignity and stayed relatively quiet about all of these events, but this might be one step too far. But we'll just have to wait and see what happens. I personally think this one is going to be very interesting. So please do hit the like button and subscribe to receive updates on this, because I, for one, am interested in what happens next. In the meantime, thank you for watching.